Hi, I'm Chris Beachum, managing editor of Gold Derby, here with Laura Carmichael, who plays Lady Edith on her return to Downton Abbey world, in this case, the new movie, A New Era. Laura, when you first got the script for this movie from Julian, what were your first thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was super excited by the France storyline, I'm not going to lie. I was really pleased to see that I was one of the lucky ones who gets to go to the south of France. But yeah, I loved the storyline of the film within a film. I think it's so funny. There's so much opportunity for humor. So I love that. I love seeing that in the finished film as well.
On the France storyline, and by the way, to let our audience know, we're going to release this video a couple of weeks after the movie opens so that we can actually talk about some spoilers today. You make it clear to your family that you're happy, you love being a wife, you love being a mother, but you're not fulfilled in the way that writing used to do and editing used to do. Can you talk a little bit about that part of the storyline?
Yeah, I was so pleased that Julian carried that on. I sort of mentioned at the end of the last movie that she doesn't want to let writing go, and yeah, she's very happily married. She's just had another baby, but she still wants to write, and Bertie encourages that, and her mother encourages that, and it's brilliant because I feel like that's through the season we saw how that was something that gave Edith her confidence and sort of saw her find herself really. So to return to that was so great, and I thought so smart of Julian to have this storyline of them, a villa in the south of France, and know that that's something that would pique her interest, that it was the new fashion to go and vacation in the south of France, something that people hadn't done, certainly not the upper classes, traveling to these sunny climes to have a fabulous time. And the likes of Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda and Coco Chanel were making it very fashionable, and that's something that Edith would have found interesting.
One thing I liked about that plot line about talking about you going back to work, all along the way in this series, Elizabeth McGovern as Cora has always been encouraging to you and to the other daughters about, and I don't think that was the case for a lot of women in the 20s and 30s, of their family, their parents being encouraging to them to do what they wanted to do and not what society wanted necessarily.
I think that's right, and I think Cora is the American amongst them, and I think she has a different point of view than these other the British aristocracy that sort of had a more a more traditional route in mind for their children. I love that Cora always feels like the breath of fresh air to that, and that's what she wants for her daughters, is to be strong young women and go out and do something. I think that's far more in her than in Robert. So
I would love to hear a story about, for people that haven't seen the movie yet, part of the biggest storylines are, one is back at Downton where a movie's being filmed, and then your crew is off to the south of France to check out a villa. So that's you and Elizabeth and Hugh and Harry and Imelda and Jim and Joanne. I think I got everybody. Tell me, how did the group of you get into trouble over there in the south of France?
We had so much fun. I mean, we were filming in 2021, so there were still some travel restrictions and COVID protocols to follow. So we did quarantine when we got there, but we were thankfully allowed to move around our hotel, and we took over the whole thing. So we kind of were on like this hilarious holiday for 10 days with all of the cast and the crew. So yeah, it felt like a holiday camp, or something like that. But we were all together and unable to leave, but it was pretty amazing. And there's just something about that part of the world. It's magical. You feel your shoulders drop when you step off the plane, really. And I think that's what you see for all of the Crawleys. They're in such a different environment, and it brings up all of this emotion for them, really, because they're away from the sort of stiffer world. And I think there's something that is just so beautiful and relaxing about that region, and we certainly enjoyed ourselves when we were out there.
When I talked with Hugh a few minutes ago, he said his favorite thing that they did, that all of you did while you were over there, for him in particular, was shooting on the boat. What about you? Was there a favorite moment, either on camera or off?
I mean, there's an amazing swimming pool in the villa, and we, a few days, we would go and sit around the pool to, um, instead of a green room, it was really, what a luxury that we were just sort of lounging by the pool in between days. And one of the last days, we then shot the scene there where Edith and Bertie and Tom and Lucy are trying to figure out what the miniature means. And yeah, we moved that scene to by the pool, and we were all drinking fake champagne in the sunshine. And it felt pretty great.
I want to ask about the other part of the storyline. You're featured in that too, but not as much as some of the other characters, and that's the movie shooting at Downton. Yeah. When you've got some new actors coming into the Downton world, like you had Hugh Dancy and Dominic West and Laura Haddock, do you have any advice to newcomers to the show?
I think everyone was always just so thrilled to welcome people in, because you sort of you just know they're going to have a nice time, and that's a really nice thing to share with people. Everyone across the cast is so lovely, so you can really let everyone know you can relax. This is going to be a nice job. And they were also brilliant, and it didn't feel like they're newbies. They all fit in so well. I think the chemistry across the board with those characters and their counterparts is so brilliant. I thought they were really well cast.
Hugh said he is sort of a prankster, and likes whenever there's a newcomer, he gives them false information or tells them that feel free to ad lib or whatever.
Yeah.
And when I talked to Joanne, she said that some of them call them fresh blood.
So
do you have any terms for the newcomers yourself?
I guess I'm calling them newbies, and that's it. They're all the newbies.
Well, all of you not only maybe have a tip or two for them on like how you shoot around the mansion or whatever, but I'm sure you also have tips to them on what is about to happen to them in terms of being in the world of Downton from a fan perspective and from a career perspective as well.
I think so. I mean, well, it's a real gift of the job, I think. That you can't sort of predict anything for anyone, but you just know they're going to have a great time, and that they're going to be in a movie that lots of people will go and see, and that's just a thrill for actors. And I think they know that they're stepping into something that has an incredibly warm fan base, and that's just a gift for any actor.
You and the whole cast shoot your final scene with Maggie Smith in that bedroom. Let me ask two questions. The first one is, what was that like for you shooting that scene?
It was really moving, and I think for us, we had to sort of just try and hold back the emotion rather than go looking for it, because we were all just so in that world, not just for Violet, but we love Maggie so much, and knowing that it was going to be the last scene we shot with her was really moving. And she's been so generous to us over the years, and to watch her be so brilliant again, and know that was our goodbye was really moving.
And you have that moment where she talks to just you two granddaughters.
Yeah. I mean, we're so close, and we feel like her granddaughters in that sort of weird way. And so I know Michelle and I we couldn't really look at each other in rehearsal. We knew that we would lose it. And at London, Michelle and I, we had to sneak out for a bit of the movie, and we came back at the end because we didn't want to miss the last half hour of the film, really. And Michelle just have a little picture of me just bawling my eyes out in front of the cinema watching it. We were all so moved by the story and the work that she does in the film.
And just her in general, Dame Maggie Smith, we're talking about, from going back to the 60s in terms of movies and Broadway and the West End and TV. When you first got cast on the show and knew you'd be working with her, how did that compare to all the years of actually working with her in terms of just not just another actress, but an actress that's a legend?
Well, I mean, I was so nervous to meet her, as I've been a fan of hers what feels like my whole life. I mean, she's got this incredible career Maggie that you may have known her, in later years, but children know her. She was in our childhood in The Secret Garden and in Sister Act, and we've grown up thinking of her as Granny. In Hook, as Wendy. She does all of those roles. So in my early memories of film, and then obviously coming to her later work as I grew up, she's an incredible actress, and the fact that I now get to call her a pal is still mind-blowing to me.
Just a couple of questions left. One is, I asked the other two this too. I want to see if your answers match up. Of all the cast, the regular cast that you've been working with for many years, who is the most different from their character in terms of real life?
It's very interesting because there's so many qualities that are similar, but they're also really different. I sometimes feel like for example, Jim plays Mr. Carson. There's lots about him that is, he's the captain of our ship in lots of ways. Freddie's the cuddliest guy you'll ever meet. He's so warm and friendly and un-Carson, like in that way. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
it does. I interviewed him at a hotel here next to where I live a few years ago, and it wasn't part of a junket. He was just there, and they said he was available for. Anyway, I'm in the room, and he walks in, and he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. I just don't expect that, from Mr. Carter, for Mr. So I knew right away he wasn't going to be exactly the same as what I was seeing on screen.
I'm very excited. He's in the new Wonka movie. I can't wait to see.
Oh, I love that moment in your movie here where he and Imelda Staunton see each other in the hat shop, and knowing in real life they're married, and how the clerk assumes that they're married. I just love that little moment.
No, it's not. I think when you've been with a show like Downton for as long as we have, I feel like Julian's these moments of little winks with the audience, which that scene definitely is.
Last question, since we're an awards website, you've won 3 Screen Actors Guild Ensemble Awards. You've probably been to a lot of award shows in your life. What was the very first big award show you attended, and do you have a favorite quick memory from that?
Well, I think probably it was the Golden Globes with, actually, I cannot remember what year it was, but I went with Michelle and Julian. And P. Diddy was there, and it was he'd just done a Funny or Die sketch about being the first Black character in Downton Abbey, and it was hilarious. And it just came out a few weeks before, and we saw him at the awards ceremony, and he sort of waved, and Michelle and I were looking at each other going, "Oh my God!" It's like, he's coming over to say hi. Oh my God! Oh my God! And we completely freaked out. It was, huge fans of his, and also just the most surreal moments of seeing him pose for photographs with Julian we found hilarious.
Well, Laura Carmichael, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Downton Abbey, A New Era is in theaters. We hope everybody goes to see it, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks.